Psychetruth. Life, wisdom.
Hey, it's Dena Maddie with part 2 of our Bikini Body Leg series that takes you from the basics to the most advanced moves to make sure you're getting the most out of your workout for those long, lean, sculpted, and toned legs. So the first exercise is going to be a modified good morning, if you've ever heard of that exercise. It's really good for the lower back, for the hamstrings, and the butt. So I want you to get on your knees on your mat. If you're like me and thin mats on wood make your knees hurt a little bit, then grab a folded up towel or a blanket or a pillow. Something ideally flat so that way you can have a little bit of stability. So take your knees about hip width apart and your arms you want to reach up and over and squeeze those shoulder blades back and down along your spine. So on this move, you hinge forward at the waist, keeping your back flat, and come back up and squeeze the butt on the way up. So hinge forward at the waist, flat back, and then squeeze the butt on the way up. The reason I want you to have your hands like this is to remind you to have a flat back and to keep the pecs open as well. So this is called a modified good morning exercise. It really helps prevent lower back pain because it strengthens those lower back muscles that we use in everyday life with core stabilization. Sometimes my lower back hurts. Do you guys ever have low back pain? So this move is also really good to prevent injury. If anybody's ever had any lower back injuries, maybe any sort of sciatica or lower back pain, let me know. And let me know if these exercises are effective. So squeeze your butt, you really feel this in your hamstrings. And you also want to make sure that your scapula, your shoulders are back. And that's also what these arms are helping with as well. So one more, and we're going to go ahead and stretch out that hamstring. So take your right leg and straighten it out in front of you. Take your right hip back so you feel this underneath your hamstring. Chest lifted, and then with a flat back, try to keep your back as flat as possible. Fold over that leg, and you should really feel this deep into your hamstring. And keep your foot flexed. You should also feel this in your calf as well. And then come up and switch legs. And put your left leg out in front of you. Flex their foot, and then with a flat back, hinge over just as much as you need to feel the stretch. Try to keep a soft bend in your leg, so don't completely lock your leg out. Keep a soft bend in that knee for circulation. And make sure to breathe when you're stretching. And then come back up, and we're gonna do another round of our good mornings. So take your arms and squeeze your shoulder blades together. Like if I had a pencil in between your shoulder blades, I'd want you to hold onto that pencil just with your shoulders. Hinge forward at the waist, keeping your back flat, and then squeeze your butt on the way up. Breathe in on the way down, exhale on the way up. Breathe in, and then squeeze your butt on the way up. So if you're feeling this in your butt, go ahead and give me a thumbs up and like my video and share and comment with your friends. And if you're wondering how often to do these videos, check out the link in the description that has my full body workout calendar. And squeeze. Give me a couple more right here. Inhale, squeeze. Inhale, and then come back up. And then stretching our hips, our hamstrings again. Reach that right leg forward, flex the foot, and keep a slight bend in the knee. And then fold over your leg. Make sure to focus on keeping your right hip back because it'll help with stretch. And then come back up. And if you're like me and your hamstrings are really tight, this is a really effective stretch. I don't need to go that far down in order to make it effective for me. For you, if you don't have tight hamstrings, you might be able to go a little bit further. But just try to make sure you keep a flat back and keep your left hip back and keep breathing while you're doing the stretch. Okay, so this next exercise is a version of a leg lift we're going to do on all fours. So once again, if you have any knee issues, put a folded towel, double up some mast, something to keep your knees safe, and then go ahead and get into an all four position. So make sure to roll your shoulders back and down along your spine and sort of tuck that tailbone underneath. So I don't want you arching like the cat-cow back. We're not doing that. So keep a neutral spine, and then put your left knee in the center of your gravity, and then take your right leg and pick up your right leg. So you should already feel this in your butt. We're going to do a small movement, small but very effective, simple leg lift. So I want you to just focus on keeping its movement really small, but targeting that muscle right underneath your butt. You should feel it kind of right underneath that seat. Here, give me one more, and then knee back down. Put your right knee in the center, and then lift your left leg up. Keep your left leg fully squeezed. So squeeze your quad, squeeze your calf, and small movements. Small little leg lift. It's really subtle, but it's very effective. And also I want to make sure that you're doing this correctly and have good form, so that when you do progress back down, that you are strong and you're flexible. So we're going to do a version of the runner's lunge. So take your right leg forward and put your hands on the ground. You can drop that left knee back a little bit and just keep your chest lifted and really try to reach into that right hip pocket, which gets really tight as we sit down a lot. So this is a really good hip opener stretch. It's also good for the left hip as well. I feel it there. And then left foot forward, and then relax your back foot, and really you can feel this in the front hip and in the left back hip as well. And you can come up if you have enough stabilization, or if that's tough, then you can also drop your hands to the ground. Either way, you still get an effective stretch. And back to all fours, and take your left knee and place it in the center, and the right leg extended back. Point your toe, squeeze all your muscles, and then small little leg lifts. Take deep breaths. Make sure you're doing a slow and controlled motion. One more, and then switch legs. This is a really small movement, but very, very effective. If you feel this in your butt muscle, you're also working your quad a little bit, and you're working your lower back core stabilization muscles as well. We're going to go into that runner's lunge one more time. So take your right foot and place it underneath your shoulder. And you can either lift up if you have balance, and that gives you a little bit of a deeper stretch. Or if that's too much for you, you can always drop your hands back on the ground and then switch to your left foot. And you can stay here on the ground if that works for you. If you're feeling any pressure on your knee, try to go forward on your knee as opposed to back onto the actual patella. So squeezing your quad and actually engaging your quad will actually help protect that knee as well. So if anybody has knee issues, I know things like this can be a little painful sometimes. And back to all fours. Great job. So the next exercises are going to be standing. Our next exercise, building upon our first video, which was the basic squat, now we're going to take it to the next level. So if you have a chair, go ahead and grab one. And if you don't have a chair, then just stick with this basic squat. So I'm going to go ahead and show you a regular squat like we did in our first video, where the idea and the key point I want you to get away is to hinge back and then squeeze your butt on the way up. And you really are almost on the heels. Your weight's almost all on the heels whenever you go back. So a lot of times people just go straight down, and that's really bad for your knees. And that's not really effective either. You're not doing the exercise properly. And you're potentially injuring yourself. So take a chair It doesn't have to be, just make sure it's not a rolly chair. And take it far back enough and actually sit on it, okay? Because I want you to know it's there. It's there. It's not going anywhere. It'll catch you if you fall. So stand up, and the idea is reach your hips back just to the point where you literally feel that chair underneath you, and then relax. Lift your heels up, so unweight your heels, and then driving through your heels, squeeze your butt on the way up and come up. So this is called, which is just basically a squat, but it's essentially called like a box squat. So reach your hips back until you feel, there you go, you feel it underneath your hips, unweight your heels, and then come up. You can also just stick with the basic squat if you really don't want to do this. That's fine too. I like this exercise because it works the hamstrings, it works the glutes. It's a really good movement, similar to the deadlift, but with way less risk of injury. So back, and then you can really feel what it's like to reach back with your hips and do a proper squat. So actually reach back, unweight your heels, and then push through your heels and drive up, squeeze your butt. You want the first movement going down to be slow and then explosive on the way up. Do it one more time for me. Reach, make contact, lift your heels, squeeze your butt, stand up. So we're gonna do a little exercise to a stretch called a figure four, and since we have a chair here, if you don't have a chair, grab a wall. We're gonna use this for balance. So go ahead and reach your right ankle over your left hip and just sink back. So remember how we talked about sinking the hips back? I don't want you to just go forward. So really reach your hips back, and that's really gonna open up your right glutes and your right hips. If you don't need a chair or a wall, then ninja status to you. I kind of need a chair. And then come up, and then switch to your left foot over your right knee. Really bend back. If you try to externally rotate your thigh out, which is basically try to roll the thigh outwards without touching it. Try not to put too much pressure on your knees, and that'll protect your knees as well. And then make sure that that knee is not going past your toe on the supporting leg. But I really feel this right along the hips. It feels quite amazing, actually. And then come back up, and we're gonna get into some more box squats, or modified squats. So chest lifted, weight evenly distributed. Now reach your hips back to make contact. Actually make contact, lift your heels up, and then driving through your heels, squeeze your butt. And then come up and down. Tell me if you like this exercise. This is kind of an interesting one. It's not very traditional. Make contact, unweight your heels, then drive through your heels, squeeze your butt coming up. This is really hitting your hamstrings, your quads, and your glutes. Really effective exercise. Make sure you're breathing in on the way up, and then exhaling when you squeeze your butt. It's actually breathing in on the way down, and then touch, and then exhale, explosive on the way up. You should actually hear your breath. Breathing in through your nose, and then exhaling through your mouth. And back to our stretch, our little figure four. So take the right ankle over the left knee and really reach your hips back. So this whole exercise is teaching you how to reach your hips back and get in that really proper squat position. It's going to protect your knees, it's going to protect your lower back, and it's going to give you the most effectiveness, the most for your muscles. So make sure your knee's not going too far forward, and really sink back. You should feel this somewhere along your hip. And then just go as far down as you need to actually feel the stretch, and then come back up. So I'm gonna put the chair safely out of our way. I don't want to get blamed for any household chair injuries. And our next exercise is going to be calf raise. We're going to modify it a little bit more than we did in the basic video. So for calf raises, we're going to do a couple modifications, but we're going to start with a basic, simple up and down movement. So I want you to keep this slow and controlled. If you need help with balance, you can also grab a chair or grab a wall, and try not to depend on it too much, but use it slightly for balance. And then take your feet and point your feet out, heels in a little plie position, and up and down. And keep this slow and controlled as well. And go up to the ball of your feet. Make sure you're breathing. These are very simple exercises, but they're very effective. And then on this last one, we're going to take our toes and point them inwards. A little pigeon toe. It's going to feel awkward. And then up and down. So don't worry if you fall. This is okay. Work on your balance. And make sure you keep breathing. This is actually starting to burn in my legs, so you should feel it in yours as well. And for our stretch, basically just hinge forward at the waist and take your left hand and just place it on the left ball of your foot. And just sit back into your hip and really just pull your foot up until you kind of feel that nice stretch in your calf. You can also do this against a wall if you have tennis shoes on. It's not really effective against the wall with bare feet. Or if you have something like a street curb and you're standing on a street curb, just having something that you stand on and drop your heels back. That's a nice, simple, and effective calf stretch you can do basically anywhere you are. And if you wear a lot of high heels, ladies, then this is going to feel really good, because when you wear high heels, it shortens your calf. So after a long day walking around in high heels, you really need to lengthen your calves to prevent injury in places that are connected. Like your lower back might be feeling injured, but it might be because your calves are tight because you're wearing heels all day. Back into calf raises. So everything's connected, right? So if you sit in a chair or walk in heels all day, that's totally fine. But then you understand how your body reacts to those things. You might not like it. So doing things like stretching out your calves, strengthening your lower back, those are all going to prevent knee injuries, low back injuries. And then point your heels out. So strength is important, but flexibility is just as important as well. Being strong without being flexible can cause injury, and being flexible without being strong can also cause injury. And we don't want to get injured. And point the toes inward. I'm already starting to feel the burn, so make sure to give me a little comment and tell me how much you love it. So slow and controlled, keeping that core engaged, so that way you're also working your core as well. And then one more, and then we're just going to do a little stretch. So just lean back and then raise your foot and then grab the ball of your foot with your hand. And bend your knee as much as you need to in order to grab that foot. Keep a soft bend in that knee that you're stretching. We never really want to lock our legs. That cuts off the circulation, and bad things can happen when no blood flow and no oxygen gets to your muscles. We want oxygen to get to our muscles. It's very important. Okay, so thanks so much for joining me and following along. You guys did a great job. Learn more about me at todayiwillbefit.com, and make sure to subscribe to Psychetruth for the rest of the video in this bikini body series. Also, check out the description where my full body workout calendar and the link for that. Thanks.